They tried to destroy them, but some knowledge refuses to die. There are books that vanish in flame, scrolls that turn to ash, temples that fall, scripts that fade from stone. And yet, there are words that do not obey entropy, ideas that slip past time like ghosts, truths that burn brighter when forbidden. The emerald tablets were such a thing. No one knows where they truly came from. Some say Egypt, others say Atlantis. Some say they were not made, but remembered, that they did not originate in ink, but in frequency, written not by hand, but by mind. And those who found them were never the first, only the most recent to receive a signal, still echoing from a world that ended. The legend says they were written by Thoth priest, god, architect, initiator. But those who have touched their energy know better. The tablets are not his story. They are the memory of a structure too vast for one name, too precise for one author, too alive to be confined. They do not read like teachings. They feel like something watching you back. Empires feared them, religions silenced them, orders guarded them with death, because inside these verses is something that undoes the whole game. Not with violence, but with remembrance. The tablets teach that you are not made, you are becoming, that death is not an end, that time is an illusion, that you are not separate from the divine, you are a fragment of it, dreaming of exile. What power could survive if humanity remembered that? They were buried, sealed in tombs, copied in secret, translated in fragments, then distorted. And yet they remained, because you cannot burn a pattern, you cannot kill a vibration, you cannot erase a code that is also a part of the one trying to destroy it. The tablets are not parchment, they are mirror and map. They are not sacred because of what they say, they are sacred because of what they unlock. They do not give you truth, they activate the part of you that already knows it. This is why they could not be lost. Because the tablets were never outside of you. They were only waiting for you to remember how to read from within. And now, they return. Not as rediscovered scrolls, not in books or ceremonies, but in dreams, in visions, in a strange voice inside your thoughts that speaks not in words, but in vibration. They are back because you are beginning to hear them again. Not everyone will. Not everyone should. But for those who feel it, the pulse, the pattern, the pull, the tablets never burned. They were only hiding in your silence. Not a man, not a god, a process. You've heard the name, Thoth, scribe of the gods, master of time, lunar one, god of wisdom and writing. But who was he? A bird-headed deity from the walls of Egyptian temples? A mythic recorder with ink-stained hands and a scroll of judgment? Number. That was only the mask. Thoth was not a character, he was a function, a consciousness, a presence that appeared whenever the human species stood at the edge of awakening. Not to lead, but to encode, to plant frequency inside language, to bind geometry to symbol, to lace myth with structure. He was not the teacher, he was the programmer of the teaching. Some say he was Atlantean. Others say he was an interdimensional being, or even a consciousness from a civilization long erased from the surface of memory. But it does not matter, because Thoth was never about origin, he was about transmission. A carrier of a signal, meant not to inform, but to awaken. You do not worship a mirror, you look into it. That's what Thoth was. A mirror of potential, of memory, of multi-dimensional self-recognition. And when the emerald tablets were written, They were not ink on stone. They were imprints of resonance. They were Thoth translating non-verbal truth into symbolic container. He spoke in riddles not to confuse, but to bypass resistance. Because real wisdom cannot be taught directly. It must be reassembled from within the seeker. So Thoth encoded the tablets not for the world of his time, but for a time when minds would rise high enough to read again. He incarnated across cultures, Hermes, Mercury, Enoch, each a variation, each a fragment of a larger frequency. Because Thoth was not fixed, he was iterative. Every age gets the version it can handle. And this age, it gets the original code back. No priest, no translator, just vibration and memory and you. You don't have to believe in Thoth. You are not meant to. You are meant to feel the field behind the name, because that field is still active. It moves in ideas that cannot be silenced, in images that persist across cultures, in the part of your soul that keeps asking questions long after logic has gone to sleep. So, who was Thoth? He was a frequency anchor, a cosmic librarian, a symbol system with a pulse. And more than anything, he was and is the one who reminds you. You were always meant to remember. What appears as poetry is actually a mechanism. You read the words, you hear the phrases, you think, what does it mean? But that's the wrong question. Because the emerald tablets were never meant to be understood in the way books are understood. They were meant to be felt, decoded, activated. They are not language. They are technology. Each line is a trigger, each symbol a resonator, each metaphor a key designed to bypass logic and strike the subconscious like a tuning fork. They speak in dual meanings, layered rhythm, sacred geometry hidden in sound. Because they are not trying to teach you, they are trying to realign you. You cannot read them with your mind alone. The left brain scrambles, the logic short circuits. That is the point. Because the tablets are structured to disable the rational gatekeeper to get under the firewall and whisper to the root code of your being. They were written for the part of you that was alive before language. And that part is still listening. When you read, you may feel uneasy, you may feel nothing, you may feel everything. That is because your frequency determines your access. Not belief, not intelligence, not even effort, but resonance. There are phrases in the tablets that appear like riddles. Man is a flame bound to a mountain of flesh. Space is curved inward. Time is the servant of thought. You might read that and think, what does it mean? But your mind isn't the listener. Your field is. The words are encoded rhythms not to be analyzed, but absorbed. Why do you think sacred chants work? Why mantras realign? Because sound is structure. Language is not just description. It is vibration in pattern. And when that pattern matches a hidden door within you, something opens. You don't learn the truth, you remember it. The emerald tablets were built like a spell cast in slow motion. Each phrase holds weight, not because of content, but because of charge. The syntax is ancient, not because it's old, but because it speaks to a place in you that came before this lifetime. So if you read them and feel nothing, you are not wrong. You are simply not aligned yet. But if something in you stirs, if a shiver moves where no wind touched, if your chest tightens or your breath slows, that is the code turning in its lock. And once the mechanism moves, it doesn't stop. The tablets are not messages. They are memories coded in metaphor. Not a map to follow, but a mirror to recognize yourself in. You are not here to understand them. You are here to become the one who already knows what they say. All is mind. All is movement. All is one. There is a phrase whispered again and again in the emerald tablets. All is one, and one is all. Simple, obvious even, but beneath those 4 words is a truth that shatters illusion at its core. Because if all is truly one, then separation is a lie. Conflict is fiction, control is theater, and fear is a trick of the light. The law of one is not morality. It is not peace or unity in a social sense. It is structure. It is the blueprint beneath matter. You are not separate from the sky. The stars are not above you, they are through you. You are not on earth. You are earth, having a thought. The tablets say, all that is born of thought. Reality is mental, not metaphorically, literally. Matter follows mind. Form follows frequency. The world around you is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are both the dreamer and the dreamed. So why don't we see it? Because the system taught us to look outward, to divide, to label, to judge, to say that is me and that is not. But in truth, there is no that. There is only this one field, shifting its shape in reflection of awareness. To know the law of one is to see the war and feel no enemy. To see the wound and know it is not foreign. To look at the tyrant and see a distortion of your own untended pain. This is not weakness. This is clarity. It is sovereignty not built on walls, but on recognition. This is why the tablets were feared, not because they taught magic, but because they undid the spell of division. A human who knows they are, one cannot be controlled. They cannot be pitted against another. They cannot be ruled by fear, by tribe, by flag, because to them there is no other. And yet, this truth is hidden not by force, but by complexity. The illusion must be dense to make the return meaningful. The veil must feel real, so the choice to pierce it becomes an act of will. Because the law of one is not something you learn. It is something you remember when the silence becomes deeper than the noise. You are not meant to escape the illusion. You are meant to see through it. And once you do, the world becomes not smaller, but clearer. The lie collapses. The architecture of fear falls apart. And in its place, a simple, ancient knowing returns. I am the light. I am the dark. I am the pattern. I am the player. I am the source. I am the form. I am one. The world is not real. It is your reflection. It's the most quoted phrase from ancient texts. It appears in alchemy, in mysticism, in sacred geometry. As above, so below. As within, so without. But what does it actually mean? It means the universe is not a thing you observe. It is a mirror. What you call reality is not an objective structure. It is a projection, an echo. What you see around you is shaped by what exists within you. The sky reflects the soul. The body mirrors the cosmos. The atom contains the spiral of galaxies. This is not poetry. It is architecture. In the emerald tablets, this principle isn't just mentioned. It is woven into every layer. Thoth describes the great above not as heaven but as source field, pure consciousness. He speaks of the great below not as hell, but as manifestation, the slowed vibration of matter. You are the space between them, the bridge, the fulcrum. You are not trapped in duality. You are the tension that makes duality possible. When you raise your inner frequency, the above shifts. When you alter your thought, the below reshapes. This is why your breath matters. This is why your focus matters. You are not watching the dream, you are shaping it. In every temple, they placed symbols on the ceiling to reflect the stars and symbols on the floor to reflect the earth. Because ancient architecture was not decoration, it was instruction. They were building mirrors of mirrors to train your perception to see the pattern. And when you finally see it, you understand why reality behaves as it does. Because every chaos is a distorted mirror. Every imbalance a misalignment of the above and the below. The outer world is not attacking you, it is informing you. Not as punishment, but as feedback. So, what does it mean to live this teaching? It means that when you change your inner vibration, the world cannot help but change its reflection. It means meditation is not escape. It is reprogramming the projector. It means your life is not happening to you, it is reporting on you. And once you understand this, you reclaim the controls. The illusion tells you you are powerless. The tablets tell you you are the architect in disguise. You are the code, the coder, and the screen. As above, so below. As you become, so becomes the world. Death is not the end, it is relocation. We are taught to fear death, to avoid it, to mourn it, to treat it as final, to see it as a wall, black, cold, silent. But the emerald tablets do not describe a wall. They describe a door, and not one that closes, one that opens inward. Thoth speaks of death not as destruction, but as transition, a change of frequency, a shift in resonance. You do not end, you reform, you re-enter the field from which you came. The you that dies was never the true you. Only the mask collapses. Man is a flame, bound to a mountain of flesh. When the mountain crumbles, the flame does not die. It returns to the source of fire. This is not metaphor. It is mechanics. You are not your body. You are occupying it. You are not your thoughts. You are witnessing them. And when death comes, it is not an ending, but a handover of perspective. Thoth describes levels, planes, realms of vibration. He says, "Beyond the body dwell I in the halls of Amentai, where the lords of cycles guide the soul." This Amentai is not hell. It is not heaven. It is a structure, a space of integration, review, rest before choosing to return or ascend. You do not go to Amentai. You unveil into it. Why was this teaching hidden? Because control is rooted in fear, and nothing empowers more quietly, more absolutely, than knowing that death is not an enemy. If you do not fear death, you cannot be bribed. You cannot be coerced. You cannot be kept in line. Every priesthood, every empire, every ruling system taught that death was final, or judgment, or punishment. But Thoth taught, there is no death, only change. And with that one line, he unplugged the entire control matrix. In truth, you've died many times, in other bodies, in other names, in other lives. And each time you didn't vanish, you simply shifted frequency. The flame passed into another form, and it will again. Because the soul is not interested in ending, it is interested in becoming. This is why the ancients prepared for death not with fear, but with ritual. They understood that how you exit shapes how you return. They mapped the realms, they left instructions, they aligned their energy to make the transition a conscious one. Because death is not darkness, it is re-entry into the original light. You were never meant to reflect. You were meant to shine. What is enlightenment? A word? A state? A finish line? To Thoth, it was none of these. It was transformation, not of mind, but of vibration. You were not designed to worship the light. You were created to generate it. The emerald tablets speak often of light and darkness, but not in moral terms. Light is not good. Darkness is not evil. They are frequencies, states of alignment. Light is clarity. Light is coherence. Light is memory in motion. Thoth describes the soul's journey as a spiral upward from matter to mind, from mind to flame, from flame to star. Each turn is a refinement, each layer a shedding, until all that remains is essence, the part of you that burns without fuel. That is the path of the sun. Man is born in the dark, but rises by will to the flame. You are not given your light. You forge it through truth, through discipline, through alignment. Not as a reward, but as a natural result of remembering who you are. So what does it mean to become a Sunday? It means your presence nourishes, your silence teaches, your being radiates without effort. You no longer seek power because you are the source of it. Not for domination, but for illumination. This is inner alchemy, not the turning of lead to gold, but of fear to awareness, shame to clarity, division to coherence. This is the real philosopher's stone, a mind in balance, a heart in harmony, a body in stillness. And from that stillness, light emerges. Thoth calls this the becoming of the Ra self, not Ra as a god, but as a state. The radiant center, unmoved, uncorrupted, uncompelled. When you reach that frequency, you are no longer in orbit. You are the gravity to which all lower patterns must respond. But why did they hide this teaching? Because a world of suns does not need kings, does not need temples, does not need permission. Because once you ignite, you no longer obey. You emanate. To become a sun is not about ego. It is about function. A candle does not brag, it burns. And in doing so, it allows others to see. You are not here to be told what is true. You are here to radiate what you remember. Not from books, not from voices, but from the fire that never went out, only hid until you were ready to burn. Not everyone wants the code unlocked. Some knowledge is forgotten, some is misplaced, some simply lost to time. But some was buried on purpose. The emerald tablets were not just hidden by erosion or obscurity. They were targeted, not because they were dangerous, but because they were liberating. Truth in its raw form is not profitable. It is not controllable. It makes kings irrelevant. It makes temples unnecessary. The tablets whispered, "You are divine. You are eternal. You are light in a body." And that message had to be erased. It began subtly. First, translation, then reinterpretation, then symbolic dilution, and finally, demonization. The teachings of Thoth became superstition. The law of one became heresy. The mirror principle was ridiculed. the path of the sun replaced by worship of external gods. Why? Because systems thrive on dependency. Empires require followers. Priesthoods require ignorance. And the tablets? They bypassed all of it. They said, the temple is your body, the altar is your breath, the ritual is your silence, the God is you, remembering itself. No structure can survive if that truth becomes common knowledge. So they buried it, sometimes in vaults, sometimes in metaphor, sometimes in fear. Religions told you to fear hell, governments told you to obey, academics told you it was myth, all to keep the core teaching locked away. But you cannot kill a signal. You can only jam the frequency. Even now, you will find critics. They will say it's New Age nonsense, occult fiction, pseudo-history. But ask yourself, why such effort to discredit what is irrelevant? Why mock what is powerless? Because deep down, every structure of control knows the truth in the tablets is a seed in the soul. And once it cracks open, the game ends. This is not a conspiracy. This is history in echo. Repeated cycles of suppression and spark. Burned libraries, killed mystics, erased names. But even fire cannot erase vibration. And the tablets were never only written. They were imprinted into the collective memory. Now, the code is reactivating. Not through institutions, but through individuals. You, others, thousands across the world dreaming the same symbols, feeling the same pull, speaking the same forgotten names without ever having met. This is not resurgence. This is return. The return of the signal, the return of the code, the return of you. The tablets are not hidden. They are returning through you. You searched the ruins. You scoured the texts. You studied the symbols. You waited for a sign, for someone to rediscover the emerald tablets, to decipher them, to reveal them. But what if the return was never meant to come from a vault, but from a vein? From the quiet part of you that never forgot. The tablets are not external. They were never only written on stone. They were encoded in structure, in DNA, in breath, in dream. And now, they are waking up. Do you think it's coincidence you feel pulled to this knowledge? That you hear ancient words and something in your chest stirs? That forgotten names suddenly feel familiar? That the patterns feel like memories instead of discoveries? This is not learning. This is reassembly. The code is returning not through language, but through resonance. You begin to dream more vividly. You speak differently. You stop fearing what others fear. You see patterns where before there was only noise. This is the vibration of the tablets turning inside you, not to make you a follower, but to restore you as a carrier. Because now is the time. The cycle is complete. The spiral turns again, and the souls who once walked with Thoth, who stood in temples now reduced to dust, are here, waking, quietly, globally, simultaneously. This is why you are here. Not to admire ancient knowledge, but to become its next iteration. You are the continuation, the recursion, the next line of the code written not in emerald, but in embodiment. You do not study the light, you radiate it. You do not seek the key, you are the lock turning. The emerald tablets were not protected in secrecy, they were protected in you. Every word a mirror, every symbol a cell, every rhythm a heartbeat waiting for yours to match its frequency. And now you no longer ask, where are the tablets? You ask, "What am I becoming?" as they awaken within me. And in that moment, you realize they never vanished. They were never lost. They were always waiting for you to be ready to return. Cess.